Hello and welcome to Investor Day here at ABG Sundal Collier. My name is Hanna Forsgren and I work as an equity research analyst. Here with me today I have Rottneros and their president and CEO Lennart Eberle. Warm welcome. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Hanna. Hello and welcome everybody. Good to see some familiar faces here, and I hope I see also some familiar faces on the webcast. Rottneros, I think I want to present and slide on, is an innovative and long-term company in a sustainable industry. Now that's a bold statement to make, and I hope I can prove it to you here with this small presentation. Sustainability is at the DNA and heart of our industry, in the forest industry. We have a renewable resource, the forest that gives us the fibers that we use to make pulp for our customers is renewable, it's recyclable, it's biological. We are long-term, we have been that, and Rottneros has been around for a very long time. And in order to do that, and also to be able to continue this journey, we of course have to be innovative and develop our products and services in order to serve our customers and continue our business, grow our business, and defend and grow our margins. Now, some short words about the history of the company. I'm getting the hang of this now, is that we've been around for more than 400 years. We started off as an iron ore mill at Rottneros in Sunne, Värmland. Some 20 years later, that became at the end of the 1800s, a pulp mill for groundwood pulp, and that mill has developed since then. During this year, we had to take the sad decision to discontinue one of the two production lines. Now, as from next year on, Rottneros Mill will focus entirely on CTMP mechanical pulp, which is focused on packaging grades. And also, we have invested in the mill during the last years and increased its production of CTMP from around about 80,000 tons to 120,000 tons. The other big pulp mill we have is Valvik. There we make sulfate kraft pulp from the Nordic long fiber trees that we're having. And that started off at the beginning of the 1900s as a sulfite mill with only 15,000 tons. And today, after the recent investment studies and projects we have continued to perform, we are around about 240,000 tons. But we do not rest there. We also invest in how to use our pulp forward in the supply chain, in value chains, and we have started the journey in molded fiber packaging within Rottneros Packaging for the last years. And I will spend some more words about that at the end of the presentation. In order to strengthen our footprint in the wood market, we have invested and acquired a forest service company, Nyquist Skog, which is, you can say, it's a field organization that focuses on the private forest owners. 50% of the Swedish forest is held by private individuals, and there we so far had not have any organization to really do business with them. But that has been changed, and that has certainly strengthened our position, which we see as an advantage now that there is an increased competition around fibers. But what will all these investments do if you don't have the right people? And that's why we also have focused on redefining our vision, our business idea, as well as our values in order to be relevant to the next generation of workers. There is a strong competition about competence and resources of people, and we have to try and attract the best ones that want to work with Rottneros in order to develop our company forward. So Rottneros today consists of two pulp mills, the Rottneros packaging business that is under creation and starting up, and some forest activities. In 2021, we made around about 400,000 tons of pulp. We will move that needle a bit further, around about 320 people. And 2021, these figures are for the full year, we had a turnover of 2.3 billion. And if you followed our reporting during the first 9 months of this year, we have seen strong growth in the underlying business. We've been on the stock exchange since 1987, and for a couple of years now, we are a mid-cap company. We have our activities in Europe, and we also have the majority of our sales in Europe. 67% of all the products and turnover we generate is made in Europe. That's where we have primarily our own sales organization. Whereas when we go to Asia, we rely on trade houses, which are often located in Gothenburg or Stockholm. And we do have some agents in North America as well as in Western Europe in smaller markets. If you know about the pulp market, the global market is around about 63 million tons, and more than 1/3 of that already is sold in China alone. 24 million tons of pulp are annually being consumed in China. China is a very small market for us. So out of these 23%, just a small fraction goes to China. The rest is Indonesia, India, Korea. So there is an opportunity for us, if other markets should stall, that we can increase our sales in the world's biggest market, as we are almost not present there at this stage. Now, what gives us the possibility to have such a strong foothold in Europe, which is not the biggest pulp market, that is our qualities. We have a wide portfolio of various pulp grades. As I've said, we made around about 400,000 tons of pulp, which is a very small player in a gigantic market. But our key area is the custom-made qualities that we have. We have more than 25 different qualities. That is one of the opportunities and possibilities we have with our smaller scale industries. And we can tailor make it, and that leads to long-term customer relations. And this also allows us to, from time to time, have a small premium over more bulk focused products, which is maybe more the short fibers of this world, which go into the tissue market, for example. So one of these lines then at the end of this year will be discontinued. That's the softwood groundwood line. Instead, we are running a pre-project to ramp up the CTMP mechanical pulp. That is all made in Rottneros. If you look at the sales split, you see that the groundwood is only standing for 16% of our turnover. It has a larger part of the volume, but a smaller part of the turnover and a very small part of the profitability. And given the current circumstances when it comes to energy, this is a very energy-intense product. It uses even more energy than the CTMP. We saw that, given the fact that this is mostly exposed to the printing and writing segment, that we could not see a future for this product. So we had to take the decision there earlier this year as communicated. But that was only a small part of the bottom line of the EBIT that it contributed to. So we will see that the product mix going forward will also improve quite substantially. Then to the right, you see a number of various applications, and we focus on the ones where we create additional customer values, such as electrical applications, filter or board. Board is general packaging, liquid packaging board, for example, where you have multi-layer construction of the board with CTMP in the middle, or UKP on the back side, and sometimes even UKB on the top side. And here we supply both to integrated and non-integrated producers of packaging materials. And then the printing and writing segment, which is on the bottom, will slowly be a lesser and lesser segment. And that's also the segment we see in the paper industry, that it has a structural decline, around about 6 to 7% decline year over year, as we consume more and more of the things we read through electronic media rather than in printed media. Now, if we want to look ahead and how do we develop Rottneros going forward, the board has set up a couple of long-term targets. Those are grouped in 3 pillars. This is what we see are the pillars of sustainability. We have to be financially sound. We have to be able to produce dividend to our shareholders and have a strong balance sheet. We have to focus on our employees and make sure that we're a safe workplace, that we have an inclusive culture that makes it interesting for everybody to apply for a job with us, come to us and be developed, as well as we have to focus on the environment. We are part of the bioeconomy, of the circular economy, but of course we will never rest in order to minimize our impact that we leave on the environment. And one of the most important targets I personally feel is that we want to be fossil free by 2030. We have come already a far bit on that journey, but there still are some fossil fuels, primarily when we close down the mill for the annual maintenance shutdown. Then we have to fire up the recovery boiler with fossil fuels, and there are some projects going on in order how to do that with biofuels instead. So if these are the targets that the board sets up and reviews on an annual basis in order to guide the organization going forward, of course there are also some macro developments going on that favor pulp in general, not only the Rottneros pulp, but pulp in general. So tissue is a growing market. There is a growing society. There's a growing number of people in the world. And of course, with the increased disposable income, people are consuming more tissue. E-commerce has driven the amount of packaging that we see. It needs more packaging if you go to the final consumer instead of going to the shop. And a lot of these packagings are made by fiber, even if they're made by recycled fibers, which is fantastic because fibers can be recycled. This, of course, leads also to a demand for primary fiber in order to increase the total amount of fiber in the market. Textiles is a big area, and still here 2/3 of the world's clothes are made by polyester, not by cotton, not by wool, and other products. And here viscose will play a strong role to be more sustainable. And the pulps which can be used for viscose, for example, dissolving pulps, if they're used for textiles, they will not be used for paper grade. And that means that there will be a slightly lesser competition for paper grade pulp, which we make. And then, of course, the overall strive to be more sustainable and to make sure that we lower our impact on the world. And here we also have our business development efforts located at Rottneros Packaging, where we focus on molded fiber for high quality applications. And you see a couple of pictures here. I want to guide your attention to the lower right corner. So there you see real packaging for ready-made meals, which are already available in stores across Europe. Those are not frozen. They are in a chilled value chain. They have a shelf life of up to 3 weeks. And that is probably, as we see it, the first fiber-based packaging that actually generates this kind of modified atmosphere within the packaging instead of having a plastic. So you reduce the amount of plastic with some 80% in this product. And what you use later on, you just take it in the micro and eat out of the bowl, and then you separate the film from the fiber. So we have moved into new premises already a couple of years ago, have heavily impacted and focused on developing our technology, and we're now speeding up our process and starting a new factory to demonstrate that this is also be able to be done on an industrial scale together with Aktier Paper in Poland. So the fiber trays we produce, they're made 100% of renewable materials, and they're free from PFAS, which is a very harmful chemical which should not be coming anywhere near ourselves. Mineral oil is not in there as well, or other harmful chemicals. And we've summarized all of that in a small movie, which I hope we can start here and see how it works.
Completely natural, yet a miracle. Can you believe that this tiny little seed has such an inner power to grow and do so much good? In the forest, it provides shelter to all kinds of animals and plants. It gives us air to breathe, energy, and a place we can all enjoy. The treasures of the forest are borrowed from our ancestors, and we must pass it on to future generations in the best possible condition. That's why we must nurture it with love, knowledge, and responsibility. Wood is also the key part of the solution to the planet's climate challenges. We must leverage this to our best advantage. At Rottneros, we always use raw materials that comes from sustainably managed forests. Then we know that the forestry is managed responsibly to preserve the diversity of flora and fauna. And we know that for every tree that is harvested, at least 2 new trees are planted. For over a century, Rottneros Mill has taken care of trees that cannot be sawn into timber. Here, up to 98% of the raw material can be utilized to make various types of pulp. We are proud of this. We will soon be one of the greenest and most modern mechanical pulp mills in the Nordic region. We are rebuilding, modernizing, and investing with the aim of being completely fossil-free by 2030. And we're already well on our way. Rottneros Mill is one of the largest mechanical pulp producers in Europe and supplies more than 25 different pulp grades to customers worldwide. They are used for everything from paper for books, baking paper, laminate flooring, board, and packaging. Wood fiber can often be used instead of plastic, steel, and concrete, with innovations constantly driving application development. At Rottneros Packaging, natural wood fiber meets high technology and world-leading expertise. The result is high-quality packaging solutions that benefit health, the environment, and the economy. The fiber-based food trays are made from 100% spruce and pine from local forests and are completely free from harmful chemicals and PFAS. Through a technologically superior and unique packaging solution, we can extend the shelf life of ready-made meals by several weeks. Food waste is reduced and the economy benefits. Moreover, the amount of plastic is 85% lower than in traditional packaging, and the overall carbon footprint is reduced by 75%. It could hardly be more natural. Once the food is eaten, the tray can be recycled or composted. It can be used to make new packaging or soil in which a new seed can grow. The circle is completed. Rottneros, pure possibilities.
So I hope you followed me when I said we are innovative and long-term in a sustainable industry. But what does that help if we don't create shareholder value? So we have some quick glances on the first 9 months of this year, and just the highlights. 2022 will be a very good year. Already Q3 was a record high turnover. We took the decision to close down the groundwood pulp line, but that will not impact us on the bottom line other than in a positive way. And we continue to have a very solid balance sheet in order to be ready to meet more turmoil going forward. We all talk about and hear about interest rates increasing with the risk of a recession and a lower demand. And in figures, just looking at the bottom line there for our EBIT, we went from the 209 in the first 9 months of 21 to 549 during the course of this year. And then there is, of course, one more line below EBIT, which are financial results. And we had a very good and favorable position on our financial hedgings. And as we will not use all of those going forward, we will move some into the result of the financial items. And that has been 156 on top of the 549 at the end of September. And that is, of course, fluctuating based on electricity future prices until the very day that we can lock those in. And a first short glance at our balance sheet, a high equity assets ratio of 68%, We have a net cash position of 311 million kroners. That is cash less our taken loans, so a positive position there. And we believe our investments of this year will around about 105 million. So if we summarize all of that, I would think that Rottneros is certainly part of the circular economy, bioeconomy. We are established niche supplier, and what does that mean? Well, we have long-term customer relations, which enable us to be able to also getting paid for the quality and the uniqueness of the fibers that we supply them, which has had a positive impact on our margins. And we see that we can continue to generate a strong cash flow. And I think with that, I'm thanking you for your attention and leave the floor to Hanna for questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Lennart, for the presentation. So one of my questions is, how much of your end market exposure is related to growth segments, such as tissues and packaging, versus the exposure to declining segments, such as printing paper?
So far, we had an exposure to the printing and writing of around about 20%. The remainder is in growth segments, and also already the 20% that we've seen for the 9 months of this year has been a decrease over recent years. So with the closure of the groundwood line, this exposure will decrease further going on, and thus leaving the remainder to be exposed to growth segments.
Could you elaborate on the decision of closing down the roundwood pulp production at the Rottneros mill by year end and potentially increase your CTMP production?
Two parts on that question. If we take the groundwood line first, as I've said, groundwood primarily exposed to the printing and writing segment, newsprint in particular. That is a market that is decreasing. And in a decreasing market for our customers, it is more difficult for them to forward the price increases that we would have to take in order to cover the energy cost increases we see, as well as increases for chemicals and others. So we simply could not see how this business would be making sense going forward. It would consume resources without giving really the kind of return that we're looking for. So we had to take the sad decision, laying off 35 people by the end of the year, and then focusing on our NBSK mill, Valvik, as well as the CTMP line. And as I've said, over the last 5 years, we have invested heavily in both mills, around about 600 million Swedish kroners. The effect of the Rottneros mill is that it will be fossil-free from a perspective of the energy generation that we have locally on site. Then we use a lot of electricity, and there we use the Scandinavian electricity mix, which as such is very fossil-free. And we've increased the capacity from 80 to 120,000 tons, and now we're in the process of looking into how to increase that further to around about 150 to 160,000 tons. But the pre-project is not finalized yet, so we'll present that to the board in due time when we have all the figures together and see how we can materialize that project.
Time is running out. Thank you very much, Lennart, for your presentation.
Thank you.